Scott Epsley, thank you very much. Welcome to MFC Science. You have over 25 years of experience in elite sports, medicine working with athletes and teams in the 4 major leagues in the US. What have you learned most from each of them?
I think one of the biggest things that is different from working in the clinic is learning what makes a really elite athlete. Some of these athletes are just incredibly talented, elite performers. They can jump out of the gym, they're incredibly fast, but maybe they don't have some of the fundamental strength characteristics that we're taught makes really good athletes, despite having some weaknesses in other areas that we maybe think, oh, if I just make this athlete stronger, they can be this elite performer. And I think that probably across the board is one of the single biggest things I've learned working with elite athletes of all different sports.
What attracted you to the Gotham project and professional women's soccer?
So I had been working with a number of the US women's national team players as a private consultant, and that was kind of my introduction. I went away with the Australian women's national team, the Matildas. It was a real opportunity to bring an elite high-level performance program to women's soccer. I felt like they really were hungry for this. They needed this, and there was a desire to elevate the standard of women's soccer and to bring it on par, if not exceed, above what we were doing in some of the men's programs. And so the opportunity to do that was the attraction.
What soft skills are as important as technical skills in your job?
The number one thing is the ability to communicate with athletes, and the ability to communicate with athletes across all manners of levels. Your amateur players, the people that are coming in out of college, and being able to communicate with them and help them grow and understand what it is to be in an elite environment. And I think the biggest soft skill is really just to be able to do that and to be very disarming in that approach and to make players really feel that they can trust you. And I think that's the biggest soft skill.
What are the main injuries that occur in high-level women's soccer?
One of the biggest challenges, I think, that's very different to my experiences in the NBA, of course, is the soft tissue injuries. Everybody knows about the ACL injuries, and it's very widely publicized and very popular. We're training our athletes to try to enhance their performance, but also then ensure that we're minimizing their injury risk for soft tissue injuries is probably the biggest one for me.
What medical advances have had the greatest impact on injury prevention in recent years?
I think one of the biggest advancements is actually understanding, and we're coming back to these soft tissue injuries, right, is understanding them better, understanding the different locations of the injuries, the different types of the injuries. And I think the more we understand that, the better we're going to be. There's other things that, with virtual reality, and that might be where things go. But I think for now, it's really the advances in our imaging and the advances in our understanding of these tissues and how they respond biomechanically and how we can best train them.
How is mental health integrated into the medical and performance department?
That's one of, I think, the proudest things we have at Gotham. We have a full-time mental performance coach. We have a sports psychologist who comes into our environment, weekly. Those two are really aligned and integrated. And, I think there's lots of aspects of how mental health gets incorporated, right? There's the individual one-on-one session work in terms of, improving mental performance. There's the opportunity for players to reach out to our sports psychologist and to have a touch point there. We're flying east to west. There's a 3-hour time zone change. This is not like the UK where you're jumping on a bus for a couple of hours and going to the next city to play. Being able to advise our athletes on how best to manage those things, our mental performance coach, our sports psychologist, and our sports scientists all work together. There's that. And then there's the working with the coaching staff as well, and, helping them to find ways to better communicate with our players. So it's a very holistic approach, and it's something that I'm really proud of at Gotham.
What advice would you give to young professionals who want to pursue a career in medicine or sports performance?
You really need to get the reps. You need to do the job at a level that you're, what I say, building your database. So you're in a clinic, you're in a setting where you're seeing lots of different athletes, lots of different injuries, just getting the repetitions, understanding the body, seeing injuries, develop what I call your paradigm, how you think the body works, how you see the human body and human performance. All of those soft skills, hard skills, they're all learned, by repetition and practice at different levels as you work your way up. And I think what that will do is it will give you more longevity when you finally get there.
What do you think of the Marbella Football Center facilities?
I mean, you guys have been amazing, and obviously, the space we've had to operate this year, we were also with you guys last year at a different location. We've had several long-term rehabs that we've been doing while we've been here. You've helped us find facilities for Alter G and different things that we've required. And so, we're really appreciative of the support that we've had here. Fitting out the gym with the equipment that we asked for, and the upkeep of the grounds and the pitches. So, it's been a really good experience.
Thank you so much,